2025 fall camp starts tomorrow, and it's now or never for a number of different Longhorns. Which players need strong showings? We'll talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Longhorns. Intro.
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You were locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin local, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember to leave a comment. That's one of the fastest ways to help us grow here on Locked On, your team every day. Appreciate you everydayers. Appreciate you first-timers as well. We will take a deep dive look at the Texas secondary and also run down the list of Longhorns who have been named to preseason award watch lists a little bit later in today's show. But first, feels like do or die for a few Texas Longhorns who are going to be fighting for playing time in the upcoming season. This training camp is a prove-it moment and a chance for some of these guys to get into the good graces of this coaching staff before the real thing gets here 32 days from now. Not that we're counting. 32 days away from Texas taking the field in Columbus against Ohio State. I've got 5 guys on my list, and I'd love to hear from you. Who would you throw on a list of players that you'd like to hear more about and more from over these next few weeks? It's do or die. It's now or never. It is prove it time for these 5 Longhorns, and we will start with redshirt freshman wide receiver Aaron Butler. These are in no particular order, by the way. It may be unfair to throw a second-year player on this list and say, oh, he has to figure things out right now. But with the freshman crop of receivers that Texas brought in and the fact that Steve Sarkisian has added at least one wideout from the transfer portal in each of the past 3 years, feels like a big time for Aaron Butler to step up and ensure that he doesn't get passed up on the depth chart. Now, nothing is official yet in terms of a depth chart, and those things can change over the course of the next month. But going into camp, kind of feels like Aaron Butler is behind Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Emmett Mosley V, and Parker Livingston. Like at least those 4 right now. And then going back to spring ball, freshman early enrollee Dalen McCutcheon was actually getting first-team reps ahead of Aaron Butler, despite the experience gap there. So not ideal for Butler. I have high hopes for him, high 4-star recruit out of high school. I think he is a great talent, but it is tough to crack Steve Sarkisian and Chris Jackson's wide receiver rotation. That circle of trust is not that big, and unless Aaron Butler has a big showing in training camp, I think he's going to be buried on the depth chart again. So big couple of weeks for him to make sure that he doesn't fall further behind. Next up, we're going to go with the projected starter. I wanted to mix it up here with, some guys who are actually in great positions going into camp, but they still need to prove that they are worthy of a starting spot. And that's redshirt junior Neto Umeozulu, who is projected to be the starting left guard for the Horns. It's year 4 for Neto, and he has yet to start a game at Texas. He's only played a total of 166 snaps, So we don't really know who Neto is. I think the coaching staff and the guys inside that locker room kind of have a feel on this, but the general public, we're not quite sure what to expect from Neto. Now, he's been sitting behind some really good players on the Texas offensive line the last 3 years. And I will credit a guy who is willing to be patient and wait his turn, because in today's college football, you don't see that very often. But Neto's got to prove that he's the guy. You got sophomore Jaden Chapman, Connor Stroh, redshirt freshman Nate Kibble. I'll throw redshirt freshman Daniel Cruz in there as well. Like, those guys are all trying to play too. Those guys are chomping at the bit to make the most of their opportunities during training camp. Neto, again, the leader in the clubhouse right now. He's going to get the first-team reps on day 1 of practice tomorrow. He's got to keep those other guys at bay and show that he is, without question, the best left guard on this roster. He's waited his turn. Now it's his moment. He's got to prove that he is worthy of it. All right, third on my list, tight end Spencer Shannon, the redshirt sophomore. was poised to be the starter after Gunnar Helm, Juan Davis, and Amari Niblack all departed following 2024. Shannon was getting a lot of reps with the ones during the spring, but of course, after spring, Texas went out and got Jack Endries, the transfer from Cal, and now Endries is the starter at tight end. The good news for Shannon, Sark runs a lot of 12 personnel, so multiple tight ends are going to play. Hell, all three of those tight ends from last year that I just mentioned, they all played. They all put up at least some numbers. So it's never just one guy in that room in this offense. But the Longhorns have Jordan Washington going into year 2. I heard Jeff Banks speak glowingly about Washington earlier today. We'll have some sound from the coordinators on tomorrow's show. People are excited about Jordan Washington. Nick Townsend, a freshman 4-star who was not here for spring ball, but obviously got here in the summer. People are excited about what he can bring to the table. Amari Winston, a freshman who was here for the spring. He drew rave reviews from the staff a few months ago. So there's some competition there. I don't think it's a guarantee that Spencer Shannon is the number 2 tight end right now. Now, he is the biggest tight end that Texas has. He's 6'7". So he's going to, I think, have a role as the blocking tight end, again, especially in those 12 personnel packages. But I think Spencer Shannon wants to be more than that. He doesn't want to just be like the big inline blocking tight end. For him to actually have a consistent role in this offense, he needs a good camp. Again, I don't think there's anything he can do to pass up Jack Endries, even though Endries is new. I just think he's that kind of talent, and he's got the skins on the wall from his time at Cal. But to make sure, Shannon is number 2 on the depth chart, he's got to have a strong showing over these next few weeks. Next up, let's go back to the defense. Redshirt sophomore cornerback Warren Roberson played in all 16 games last year, but primarily he did that on special teams. Made some plays on special teams, also had too many penalties on special teams. But we're not talking about that here. We're talking about Warren Roberson at his true position, cornerback. He's got some swag. His teammates love him. He doesn't back down. He's got a short memory. All of those are good traits for a defensive back. But you could argue the Longhorns have recruited better in the secondary than they have at any other position on the field. And you've got a ton of great corners on this team. Even though you lose Jahdae Barron, there's still a bunch coming back. Manny Muhammad, pencil him in. Hell, put it in pen. He's a starter at corner. You've got Jalen Gilbo, Kobe Black, Santana Wilson, Wardell Mack. Of course, the true freshman, Cade Phillips, the 5-star. Grayson Littleton, the high 4-star. There is a ton of competition and not a ton of spots at corner that need to be filled. For Roberson to hold his own and also not get passed up by the younger guys, he's got to continue to build. He's got to put things together. He's got to have a strong showing. Again, Texas in a fortunate position. It's kind of a first world problem here with all of the talent that they have in that secondary, and we'll dive into that a little bit more in our next segment. But obviously in Warren Roberson's case, he wants to prove that he's better than all of those guys. Can he do that over the next few weeks? I don't think there's anything he can do to get a starting gig, but can he be, the 3rd or 4th best corner on the team and be a part of that rotation? We will see. Last but not least, again, 5 Texas Longhorns who are in now or never mode going into camp. And I want to hear from y'all in the comments below. Who did I miss? Who would you add? Trey Owens, redshirt freshman quarterback. I already don't know if there's a super obvious path for Owens to ever be the long-term starter at Texas, barring an injury to Arch Manning, knocking on wood incredibly loud. If he loses the backup job, he being Trey Owens, if he loses the backup job to Troy transfer Matthew Caldwell, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Like Sark said in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago that he doesn't know who the backup is right now and that it's going to be decided over the next few weeks. I hope Trey Owens wins it. I think he kind of has the leg up on Matthew Caldwell because he's been here for a couple of years. He knows the playbook. He knows his teammates. The coaches know who he is. All good things. I hope Owens wins it. I like him. I want him to be great, but I just don't know. Sark didn't get Matthew Caldwell for nothing. He brought him in for a reason, and it happened after the spring. So that's not the most glowing review of Trey Owens. If Steve Sarkisian was 100% confident in Trey Owens playing significant snaps for this team this year, then he wouldn't have gone out to the portal and brought somebody else in. Similar situation last year. Arch Manning going into year 2, didn't have a lot of experience under his belt. Did Sark go to the portal last offseason? No. He trusted Arch Manning that if he needed to play and start, he was going to get the job done. It's exactly what happened. Not the same. I don't know if that surprises anybody, but not the same with Trey Owens. And then you look at the future. Obviously, KJ Lacey here is the early enrollee freshman. You've got the 5-star Dia Bell, who I think has a very good chance to end up as the number 1 quarterback recruit in this class of 2026. Sark brings in new quarterback talent every single year. Again, that makes the path for Trey Owens. Now, this is more long-term than just 2025. Makes the path a little murky for him. And oh, by the way, if Arch is here and starting for 2 seasons and you give those younger guys a little time to develop, that makes the path get a little murky for Trey Owens there. So I think he's got to have a big camp and prove that he is at least QB2 on this team and the first guy off the bench if he's ever needed in a pinch. Kind of rhymed. I don't know if I should give myself credit for that. So we'll see what happens. Those are my 5 now or never guys for Texas football going into camp. Again, what say you? Who did I miss? Who would be on your list? If you're tuned in on YouTube, please leave a comment with your thoughts. Much appreciated. And I will respond to your comments as well. All right. Players report today, but practice starts tomorrow. We have been doing a position-by-position preview, talking about the biggest storylines at every spot on the Texas roster going into fall camp. We will wrap that up. Some conversation on the secondary that's coming up right here on Locked on Longhorns. All right, but first, a word for today's video sponsor. That is Monarch Money. You ever feel like managing your finances is incredibly difficult? Yeah, with Monarch Money, it's not anymore. They have made managing your money easier than ever before. It's all in one. So in the past, you've had multiple apps. You've had apps for your credit cards. You've had apps for your bank accounts. You and your significant other, you had to have separate apps and separate this and separate that. It was so hard to keep track of everything, and it made managing your money feel like an impossible task. Well, that's where our friends at Monarch Money step in, because they give you full access to everything all in one place. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full control and visibility over all of your finances. Take control of your finances. If you're saving up for a big purchase or just saving up in general, Monarch Money has your back. Just head over to their website, monarchmoney.com. You can find out more information there. And when you're ready, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year. That's right, just like that. Half off your first year at monarchmoney.com. All you have to do is type in that promo code LOCKEDONCollege with our friends at Monarch Money. All right, back here on Locked on Longhorns, your team every day. Texas fall camp starts tomorrow. And each day leading up to day 1, we've been taking a deep dive look at a different position group on the Texas roster. We're down to one room. That's the secondary. It's a group that is losing a lot, but also returning a ton. And it was one of the strengths of the team, maybe the strength of the 2024 team. Texas had one of the best pass defenses in America, easy for me to say, last season. The Horns ended the year 7th in passing yards per game allowed. They actually ended the regular season 1st in that stat. The playoff got to them a little bit, but still, they were elite. They also led the nation in touchdown passes allowed, only 9 in 16 games. That's right, the Texas defense only allowed 9 touchdown passes in 16 games. It's insanely good. It almost sounds made up. And when you think about how bad the Longhorns pass defense was in 2023, especially in that playoff loss to Washington, I mean, night and day is an understatement talking about the leap that the Texas secondary made in 2024. So they were insanely good, and the hope is it could be at least close to that here in 2025. The biggest question for the Horns secondary going into camp and into the season: how do you replace Jahdae Barron and Andrew Mukuba? The Thorpe Award winner, who was a first-round pick, and then Andrew Mukuba, the Clemson transfer, who turned into a second-round pick, and he was drafted by the Eagles, who always know what they're doing. They always hit on their draft picks. So I know Andrew Mukuba is going to ball out at the next level. Feel the same way about Jahdae Barron in Denver, too. Those guys were awesome. They each had 5 interceptions last year. Nobody else on the defense had more than 2. They were 3rd and 4th on the team in tackles. I mean, they were everywhere all at once. It almost felt like there were two Jahdae Barons and two Andrew Mukubas on the field for every single snap. That's how impactful they were. And the chemistry between them and Michael Taft was phenomenal. Those guys are great friends. If you're a Longhorn fan, you know this already. They're all from Central Texas. They've all been training together for years with Bam Blake here in Central Texas. Thankfully, Michael Taft is back. So you've got 1/3 of that, triple threat back there, if you will. But yeah, who takes over at field corner? Who takes over at the other safety spot? Jahdae Barron and Andrew Mukuba were two of the best secondary players in the sport last season, and they are going to be severely missed. Now, here's the good news. The Longhorns are loaded with talent back there. We'll start with the corner, then we'll go to safety. Some of these names we talked about in our first segment, Jalen Gilbo, who's making the move from star to outside corner. Can he find the same success that Jahdae Barron did? That's what Jahdae did last offseason. I'd say things worked out pretty well. You've got Kobe Black, the former 5-star, Wardell Mack, Warren Roberson, Cade Phillips, Grayson Littleton, Santana Wilson. These are all 4- and 5-star recruits here. Now, we've seen a lot from Jalen Gilbo. Kobe Black paid a decent amount last year. But, outside of those guys, obviously Manny Muhammad there too. There's not a ton of starting experience with Texas, but you can't question the talent that's there. And then you look at safety. I mean, look, Mukuba's going to be missed because he was great, but there shouldn't be much of a drop-off with Texas at safety. Obviously, Michael Taft returns. Derek Williams Jr. returns from injury. Hopefully, we'll see how much of an impact he can make early on in camp. We'll just see how much he's doing early on in camp, and that'll show us kind of what to expect from him in the first month of the year. But he's a monster going into year 3. Jelani McDonald going to be playing more safety. He is a monster. I'm expecting a huge season for him. You've got Jonah Williams, the 5-star freshman. Xavier Filsaime, the former 5-star going into year 2. Jordan Johnson-Rebel is really it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Taft's a starter. I think Williams and McDonald are 2 and 3. That's about as good of a 1-2-3 at safety as you're going to find in college football. Plus, there's depth. You're set. You should be set, at least, at safety. The safety play 2 years ago was really bad. Again, without Andrew Mukuba, so maybe there's some fear there for some of you, but they should be more than fine with the talent that is returning and coming in. Another question for the Texas secondary, can the takeaways continue? Texas was tied for the nation's lead with 22 picks in 2024. Those are game-changing plays. You talk about complimentary football. The Texas defense, especially the Texas secondary, they more than did its part last season. Needed a little bit more from the offense, especially in crucial moments, but the Texas defense held up, and they passed pretty much every test that they faced, and a lot of their greatness was based on the amount of takeaways that they had. 22 interceptions is crazy. Helps when you play a few extra games in the playoffs, but they were awesome at that. Again, 5 picks for Jahdae Barron, 5 picks for Andrew Mukuba. Nobody else had more than 2. Who steps up? Can they do that again? They had 12 picks as a team outside of those 2 guys, but who steps up and helps lead or helps get more takeaways in the back end of this Texas defense? And then you got to ask the question about the new coaches, right? Texas replacing both of its secondaries coaches from last season. Terry Joseph is now with the Saints. Blake Gideon, the new defensive coordinator at Georgia Tech. So in returns Dwayne Akina, and in comes Mark Orfe. Akina is a guy that every Longhorn fan knows, and I think every Longhorn fan was pretty excited when that hire was made. I'm pumped about the reunion. This is a guy that Sark had tried to hire last offseason. Akina was at Arizona. He got a promotion there last year, so things didn't work out in Austin, but now it happened. So I bring that up to say this isn't just like Sark trying to ingratiate himself with the Texas fans and, oh, there's an opening, let's do this feel-good story so fans like me more. No. Sark is a big fan of Dwayne Akina. How can he not be? You look at the resume that guy has had. He's one of the most successful defensive backs coaches in the history of the sport. So Sark targeted Akina. He really likes him, and understandably so, and I agree with that decision. I think he could be an upgrade over what Texas had at the back end. Mark Orfe is a bit of an unknown. He does have ties to Texas. Played his high school ball at North Shore in the Houston area. Played his college ball in the state of Texas. He's been a coach for 14 years. He has worked in the SEC a little bit, South Carolina and Alabama. Now, those jobs were, analyst and quality control gigs, so not super high up on the totem pole, but he has worked in the SEC before. His last job was at Rutgers, not quite Georgia, Alabama, or Ohio State, but I trust in Sark. Even though we don't know a bunch about Mark Orfeh, Sark has gotten just about every assistant coaching hire right at Texas. He made the right move, sticking with Terry Joseph and Blake Gideon last year. A lot of Longhorn fans wanted those guys fired after 2023. Sark didn't pull the plug. He ran it back. His trust paid off. So I trust in Steve Sarkisian that these moves will pay off this year. But still, you got to ask the question. New coaches, new players. Can the chemistry look the same? Because that was so massively important to what Texas did on the back end last season. By the way, Athlon Sports has Texas with the number 1 secondary in America in their preseason mag. Phil Steele is the Longhorns at number 6 overall in his preseason mag. So it should be a strength of the team again. Can it be as good as it was last year? Time will tell. All right, 1 segment to go. By the way, comment below. What's your confidence level in the Texas secondary 32 days away from game 1? 1 segment left on a Tuesday show. It is watch list season, and a few Longhorns have received some preseason honors so far this week. Who made the cut? Who got left out? We'll talk about it next on Locked On Longhorns. All right, final segment here on Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. We are just over a month away from week 1 of the college football season. For now, we are officially in watch list season. A number of the top individual awards in college football have released their preseason lists of who's expected to be in the mix at the end of the year. Of course, you can win any of these awards even if you don't make one of these preseason lists, but usually the winners are on here going into a season. We'll start with the Maxwell Award, which is given out annually to the best player in college football. 2 Longhorns made the cut. Arch Manning, Quintravion Wisner. A little surprised that Anthony Hill's not on here because I think Anthony Hill is the best player on this entire roster. But I looked up before the show, like, okay, how often does a defensive player win this thing? The last defensive player to win the Maxwell Award was Hugh Green in 1980. And that was well before I was born. By the way, the last Longhorn to win the Maxwell Award was Vince Young in 2005. Should have won another individual award that year, but, he won the most important trophy when the year was all said and done. Arch Manning and Quintravion Wisner, I like it. Usually goes to a QB or a running back. If Arch puts it together and Texas is really good, then Arch is going to be in the discussion for pretty much every award there is for a quarterback to win. And then Trey Wisner, the only returning 1,000-yard rusher in the SEC. If he takes another step this year and puts up even better numbers than he did in 24, then, he could be in the mix. Maybe for the Doak Walker Award as well, given out to the top running back in America. And maybe, just maybe, for the Maxwell Award as well. Moving on. 3 Longhorns. I can't even read my notes. That's why I paused right there. 3 Longhorns made the list for the Bronco Nagurski Award, which is given out to the best defensive player in the country. I bet y'all could guess the 3 names. I won't Dora the Explorer this bit and have you just yell out to your computer screen or your phone screen right now. I'll just tell you. It's Anthony Hill. It's Michael Taft. It's Colin Simmons. The 3 guys who were named first team preseason All-SEC last week. This is the 2nd consecutive year that Anthony Hill is on this awards watch list. Colin Simmons, Michael Taft, both first-time selections. By the way, Texas with 3 selections on this list, tied for the 2nd most in the country with Alabama, Oregon, and Clemson. Georgia has 4 nominees. And don't get fooled. People are talking about this being a down year for the Dogs. They're still loaded with talent on defense, and they still have maybe the best defensive mind in the sport calling the shots there. But no surprise, Anthony Hill's the best linebacker in the country. Michael Taft's an All-American safety. Excited what he does in his last year in Austin. And Colin Simmons coming off the freshman season that he had going into year 2. We know he has high hopes for himself this season. He's not alone, and Texas fans aren't alone as well. A lot of praise coming in for Colin Simmons going into his 2nd year. Little history on the Nagurski Award. Jahdae Barron was one of the 4 finalists for this last season. He did not win it. South Carolina's Kyle Kennard, the star defensive end, won this trophy. And then last but not least, back over to the offensive side of the football, DJ Campbell was put on the preseason watch list for the Outland Trophy, which is given out to the best interior lineman in the sport, offense or defense. The last Texas player to win the Outland Trophy, Kelvin Banks, a few months ago. Before that, the last Texas player to win the Outland Trophy. You got to go all the way back to Devondre Sweat in 2023. That's right. The Horns are going for a three-peat this year with the Outland Trophy. DJ Campbell, the only Horn to make the cut on this preseason watch list. Again, you don't have to be on the preseason watch list to win the award when it's all said and done. DJ Campbell, first team All-SEC, probably has the best chance of any Texas player to win it. We'll see what Cole Brevard does, Murad Watson, Travis Shaw, those transfer defensive linemen that Texas brought in. We'll see. Maybe Cole Hudson has a breakout year at center. Who knows? Makes sense that DJ Campbell's the only one on here because he's kind of the only guy that's proven it at Texas. He is the only returning starter at interior offensive or defensive line for the Longhorns. Some of these guys started elsewhere, but it's a lot of new faces in those places for the Horns in 2025. Man, if Texas can win that 3 years in a row with how important it is to win in the trenches. Devondre Sweat was massive for Texas winning the Big 12 2 seasons ago. I don't have to tell you all about Kelvin Banks and what he's meant to the Longhorns in this program over the last 3 seasons. Those guys are awesome. Having another one would be even more awesome. So there you go. It is watch list season. More awards will announce their preseason lists over these next few days, and we'll keep you posted with everything that happens. But it's preseason, but it means something. It's a cool honor for these players. And again, with team success comes individual hardware. So if the Horns can make another deep run in the CFP, some of these players will be at the College Football Award Show at the end of the year, hopefully receiving some of these trophies. It's good stuff. That's going to do it for today's show. If you made it this far, number one, thank you. Number two, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn notifications on, and rate 5 stars if you are tuned in podcast form. Really do appreciate y'all making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day. For your next listen, check out Locked On Bets with my man Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers. They are your one-stop shop for all of your sports betting needs, expert analysis, game picks, the lock of the day. They've got you covered with everything. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. On tomorrow's show, some day one nuggets from training camp. We'll have some coordinator audio as well. Texas football will be taking the field tomorrow. It's a beautiful thing. We've got you covered with everything that you need to know right here on Locked On Longhorns. But that'll do it for today's show. Until next time, horns up, mics off. We'll see y'all soon. This is Locked On Longhorns.